Hello. Hello. My AV team is looking at me to see if I can speak loudly enough. Bonjour. Good morning. I've caught a few people's attention. That's good. Welcome. For those who weren't in the room earlier, or for those who were, I'm still Dr. Eileen Donovan-Wright, the Associate Dean of Research at the Faculty of Medicine at Dalhousie, and I am delighted to be here, to drive down, to see everyone, and to welcome you today to celebrate some of our important and groundbreaking research that's going on right here in New Brunswick. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that Dalhousie University operates on the unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqey, and Bezgo-Dumaquati peoples. These sovereign nations hold inherent rights as the original peoples of these lands, and we each carry collective obligations under the Peace and Friendship Treaties. Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982 recognizes and affirms Aboriginal and treaty rights in Canada. Breakthrough breakfasts are a special event for us. They are dedicated to celebrating groundbreaking research and medical innovation and a spirit of community that allows us to interact with our partners, our donors, our clinicians, our researchers across the regions. We do these in groups, and we've done a number in Halifax, and they're usually focused on a topic. But today we are really thinking about how we can show up here in New Brunswick and feature some incredible researchers that are here and that all of you know well. We're showcasing these researchers and their innovations as a way to show that there are key areas of medical and health research that need to be transformed and that we're constantly evolving. So we can make a difference here in Atlantic Canada, and we can make a difference by working together. I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude not only to everyone who showed up today that has a different part to play in this research ecosystem, but also to take a moment to acknowledge our very generous sponsors and partners who make events like this possible. First of all, our gold sponsor, Shanex. And Shanex has been a strong supporter of these breakthrough breakfasts ever since I've been involved. And they are a family-owned organization with a vision of leading the way to better living. And I think all of us have an interest in understanding this work and being part of making sure we all live our very best lives. Our silver sponsors, the Dalhousie's Department of Medicine, again, repeat sponsors of these events. And the Department of Medicine, as you can imagine, is dedicated to building a healthier tomorrow together through our commitment to excellence in quality care, research, and education. If we do our jobs right, maybe we'll give them less work to do so that they can stop working themselves quite as hard as they have to do right now. And to our bronze sponsors, Research New Brunswick, who support research and innovation for a thriving New Brunswick, Envision St. John, the region's lead economic development and visitor attraction agency, tasked with sustainably growing the economy and population, and the generosity of the New Brunswick Medical Society, who advances the interests of physicians and improves the healthcare system in New Brunswick for the benefit of all patients. As it happens, today's, by coincidence, I don't think it was by design, but it is today. Today is Giving Tuesday. And Giving Tuesday, for those who haven't heard of it before, is a global movement aimed at inspiring people to give back, especially as we head into a season that we think of as a gift-giving season. Donors have long been a fuel for some of the world's greatest medical and health breakthrough. And most of the teams that start research start with some form of donor funding so that they can then go on to be successful and attract more funding. It is an important seed or crystal that starts growth. At Dalhousie, donors are providing essential funding that enables our researchers to bring out exceptional teams together, including the trainees, the medical students, undergraduate students, people in our community, and then the more advanced researchers. Those donors are helping us access the important equipment that's essential to do work and to fund the actual research, which is getting more and more challenging and costly, that is, unfortunately, in Canada, still somewhat underfunded from a GDP perspective. We won't get into politics here this morning, but it would be nice to see growth and more investment in innovation and research. I personally hope, and I know that the whole team here with Advancement that has worked very hard to bring this event together, we hope that you feel inspired by today's presentations, and we invite you to join the Giving Tuesday movement by lending your support. I hope that you can continue to enjoy your breakfast, refill your breakfast, get up and move around if you want during our programs. And now I would like to turn this over. We're going to have a few speakers, and then I'm going to host some speakers, and I'm going to tell them that when they're getting the evil eye, their time is just about up. So I will be, as I'm approaching you slowly and with increasing menace, you will know that you're going to get short in time, because we want people to be here, enjoy the day, but then be finished in a timely manner so that we can go and each go back to our important work. So it's now my pleasure to invite the Senior Associate Dean of Dalhousie Medicine, New Brunswick, Dr. Julie Copeland, to the stage to bring her greetings.
Thank you, Eileen. And good morning, everyone. It's so great to see so many of you joining us here this morning. As many of you likely know, it took the will and the generous support of many stakeholders to bring the vision of having a medical school here in New Brunswick to life 15 years ago. From the very beginning, they knew that they wanted to foster a robust research program within the medical school to serve the region by focusing on the healthcare issues most pressing to our population here in New Brunswick. And as you can imagine, this could only be accomplished with collaboration and partnerships across healthcare, government, and academic communities, but also because of the generous support of community donors. I am proud of what we've been able to build together and very excited for the future. It is a great time to be serving as a Senior Associate Dean for DMNB, and I think our future looks bright. I'd now like to invite a special guest, Mrs. Lynn Irving, to the stage to say a few words. As a leader in our community, a physiotherapist, and a consultant in disability management, Mrs. Irving has always been passionate about our community and helping people to live better and work better. She joined DMNB as the founding co-chair of our medical research fundraising efforts back in 2011, and she spearheaded a very successful campaign, including the establishment of the J.D. Irving Endowed Chair in Occupational Medicine, and raising over $15 million for medical research in New Brunswick. Mrs. Irving.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Dr. Copeland, and good morning, everyone. My remarks this morning are going to be very brief, but it is with a great sense of pride and satisfaction that I'm here today, celebrating the accomplished medical research community that has been established at Dalhousie Medicine, New Brunswick, right here at home in St. John, New Brunswick. And as you all know, with the partnership between Dalhousie University, the Government of New Brunswick, the University of New Brunswick, and Horizon Health Network, the DMNB program was established. However, it was necessary to provide research facilities and opportunities for undergraduate medical students in order to meet the requirements for a fully accredited medical school. New Brunswick lagged behind the rest of the country in medical research facilities and funding, and we were determined to change that. We launched a capital fundraising campaign to raise $15 million, and the research program we have today has grown from that early start. New Brunswick has truly stepped up to take its place in medical research. We all know that investment in research, health research, has the potential to reap great rewards for New Brunswick by contributing to the building of healthy, smart communities in which talented people can be attracted, live, and work. We all play an important role in continuing to foster innovation and to grow our research excellence. What you will hear today is just a small glimpse of the innovative ways in which our researchers are breaking new ground to improve health outcomes for the people of New Brunswick and the world beyond. I'm grateful to have played a very small part, and I look forward to seeing what is to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Irving, and thank you, Dr. Copeland. So now, without further ado, today we have our esteemed lineup of DMMB researchers who will share their latest insights and research findings within the allotted time. So we have Dr. Paul Atkinson, Dr. Duncan Webster, PhD candidate Tori Nelson in the Department of Pharmacology, and Dr. Keith Brunt. First up, please join me in welcoming my friend and colleague, Dr. Paul Atkinson. Dr. Atkinson is the Assistant Dean of Research at Dalhousie Medicine, New Brunswick, a professor in emergency medicine, a busy clinician, and the Chief Medical Consultant at WorkSafe NB. Today, he is presenting his latest research, Compassion in Medicine, the Science of Caring.
Thank you, Eileen. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm not sure, is my mic working? You can hear me? That's excellent. So thank you, Eileen. Thanks, everyone, for coming along this morning, getting out of bed, especially my son. He came. I think it's an early start for Jack, so welcome. Now I'm in trouble. I know I don't have much time, but I just want to reassure you the doors are still open at the back. It's a breakthrough breakfast, not a breakout breakfast, so you will be allowed to leave. So it is an honor to be here with all of you this morning. As mentioned, I have a particular role with research at DMNB as the Assistant Dean, and it's a real pleasure. I'm also a researcher in Emerge and a consultant in occupational medicine with WorkSafe. And I just thought before I jump straight into my research, we'll just briefly outline the research at the Faculty of Medicine from DAL here in New Brunswick. And so we have a council that's at the heart of our research structure, and it's supported by 3 groups focusing on discovery science, population health, and then clinical and educational research grouped together with dozens of researchers working across these groups. I think New Brunswick's the perfect scale for impact. It's small enough to innovate quickly, but large enough to matter. So let's focus in on the clinical research today, within which sits my field of emergency medicine. And the emergency medicine team is at the back. Welcome to them today. So let's zoom in on emergency medicine. Who has seen this recent show that's out now, I think, on CTV, if I'm not wrong? The Pit. I've been told by our lawyers not to say that it's a sequel to ER. Apparently that's a problem. But this moment from The Pit, this is the opening scene from The Pit. And I think it's an uncomfortable reality for those of us working in emergency care. Because we have an emergency care crisis. It's a crisis. It's not just a long wait, it's a crisis. People are dying because of long waits. People go because they've nowhere else to go, and there's no space to treat them. So it's a crisis for the system, for patients, but also for the staff who work there. So our previous research, and I'm going to throw a few papers in here and there, has explored what this systemic crisis means for patients, and it is not good. The team has also looked at the impact on staff, because it turns out clinicians are not, in fact, a renewable resource. Well, not easily anyway. Who knew? So recently we put out a paper, Can Emergency Medicine Be Saved? And this is not about the system, this is about the people. It's a question, can we keep going? And you might say, well, of course you can keep going. Well, let's just look at the data. 1/2 of emergency staff describe symptoms of burnout, score high on a burnout scale. And you might say, what's burnout? Burnout is whenever you lose that sense of caring. You're fatigued in all ways, mentally, physically, and you don't engage anymore. And half of people score high on this scale. There's a 3 to 7% attrition rate of emergency physicians every year. That's massive. That's way higher than any industry standard. And that's not retirement. And the ages at which emergency physicians are leaving, women are leaving at 44, men at 56. So there's a problem. So we've done a lot. We've looked, and I'm not going to go through all these papers, but some of the things we've looked at over the past few years in our research program is how do different coping strategies impact burnout? How do overnight shift patterns change as clinicians age? And how does training and how do interventions impact, and can that be reduced? And right now, we're just beginning a scoping review this very year with one of our RIM students here at Dalhousie Medicine, New Brunswick, looking at how shift work impacts health in general, including cardiovascular risk. But this morning, I want us to focus in on something that I think can help us move forward. We're not here to just talk about the problems, we want solutions. And so we're here to talk about compassion. So 3 years ago, a short editorial that we wrote seemed to kind of go viral and struck a nerve. If ABBA has a greatest hits album, and at the top of that is Dancing Queen, well, I think this series would be our Dancing Queen. It was viewed and shared 50,000 times, and the question was, if we do less, would that be more for emergency medicine? But that's a conversation for another day, because it led through to a 3-part series, and the last of these was this paper on compassion, saving emergency medicine through compassion. So similar to Maslow's hierarchy of social needs, I believe that any health system has a hierarchy. And in this, we need 3 basic things. We need the resources to do our job. They have to be there. We need training to do our job, but that's not enough. On top of that, we need to maintain and grow our compassion for what we're doing for our patients. Because a lot of this we as individuals can't change. At the bottom, we can advocate, the system can do this, but at the top, we can actually do this ourselves. What is compassion, if you're sitting wondering this morning? It's a bit early for this. Let's just give you a definition from the Dalai Lama. Compassion is an openness to the suffering of others, but with a commitment to relieve it. So it's 2 parts. It's really about recognizing and acting. It's not just about feeling. Let's have a look at 3 different patients that we have a question. Does caring matter in medicine? Or is it just the biological science? You're going to hear a lot about biological science this morning, and I believe strongly in it. But I believe that it's part of a bigger concept about caring. So a 34-year-old unhoused male presents in early winter, let's say today, it's cold, with frostbite to both feet. What will actually lead to him doing well? Is it the science of the rewarming and the analgesia? Or is it the caring to make sure he has somewhere to go so that he doesn't suffer this again tomorrow? A 60-year-old paramedic reports she cannot face work since she performed CPR on a drowning child last fall. This is all too real. We have high rates of people out with traumatic psychological injury from first responders. But what will help her? Is it going to be medications, or is it going to be listening? Is it both? A 69-year-old female reports she's been having dizzy spells. Is it the ECG, the Holter monitor, the EEG that will get her to the age of 79, or is it the caring to put in a safe environment around her so if she falls, she has someone to call? You know, this isn't philosophy, it's physiology. Our psyche impacts the body. Well, we're not separate, we're not Cartesian beings, really. And broken heart syndrome isn't just poetic, it's actually a fatal condition, also known as Takotsubo syndrome. It's real. Bad feelings have negative physiological impacts, but the corollary is also true. So let's look at that. What about the positive impact on health? Well, Compassionomics is a major, long, 300-page systematic review of the literature that I don't expect you to pick up and read unless it's in the evening to help you sleep. Some of us need something to do that. But at the core of it is this message that compassion has a positive impact on any industry, whether you're in logging, in oil, in healthcare, in recovery, in workers' compensation. Compassion will improve your business economics. It's not just a nice thing. But let's remind ourselves what it is again. Sympathy is when you understand. Empathy is when you feel bad for someone. Compassion is when you turn that into action. And that's what we're talking about. It's not just empathy and sympathy. So the data points towards this being something that's important. It's important for patients because it improves clinical outcomes when they are in a compassionate environment. It improves the systems, reducing costs, supporting financial sustainability. It helps the professionals. It lowers burnout when they're in a compassionate environment. And what does it take? About 40 seconds per interaction is what the science says of focused, compassionate thought and action. You might say, really? Well, you can read this book. I will never get up on stage and say something that doesn't have a reference. And so the reference is here that patient benefits from compassion include improved wound healing. Really? Yes. Better cardiovascular and autonomic function with lower inflammatory markers. Reduced patient pain and lower need for painkillers, and that's a problem. And higher adherence to the treatment plans that patients are given. What about the system? Compassion helps the system with reduced cost and backlog, fewer visits to specialists. So if you're a specialist, maybe you don't want this, but maybe you have enough. So for the system, it decreases referrals. It decreases over-testing when you have a compassionate approach. And it improves our well-being as clinicians. And this isn't all just, again, mumbo-jumbo or some nice sort of progressive thought this morning at breakfast. This is based in neuroscience. This is measurable. Neuroscience shows through various tests, and I won't get into that now, but basically through functional MRI and other testing, we can show that the application of compassion activates positive brain pathways, reward centers, releases positive hormones, as opposed to empathy, which you would think, well, that's neutral. It's not. Empathy without compassion is negative. So if you're feeling bad for someone else, you walk down the street, you see a homeless person, and you don't do something about it, you get a negative release of cortisol. It's not good for you. But when you act, you get a positive release of hormones and you activate your reward center. So this is what we're talking about. It's that little voice in your head that wants you to help, but when you shut it down, it's actually bad for your health as well as the person not receiving any benefit. And you might think, well, what about survival of the fittest? Isn't that how we all got here, to be Homo sapiens at the pinnacle of society and history? And I'm nearly done, Eileen. But Charles Darwin never said survival of the fittest. And in fact, if you look at this, even at a cellular level, cells that can get together and create an immune system survive and thrive. And as humans, evolution showed that communities who work together to support each other support the weakest survived and thrived. It wasn't the individual survival of the fittest. So there we are. We think that caring for others and looking after ourselves are opposites, but they're not. And on this, you can see where you want to be as a successful giver. And that means you give to others with your time and effort and compassion, and you give to yourself. Self-compassion is key. The failed givers are the burnouts. And of course, you don't want to be apathetic in this bottom corner. So spend your time wisely. Listen to people. Care for people. Don't rush through, apart from talks at a breakfast. Don't rush your interaction with your patients or your clients. Take a little time. Sit down. Don't stand over people. So sit down, get to people's level, and listen to what they have to say to you if you're a clinician. And don't rush out of the room until you're sure you've asked them, did I hear what you had to say today? So there we are. Our research program continues to focus on compassion. We're continuing to look at whether compassion can make a real difference, not just a theoretical difference, not just on brain scans, but actually in outcomes. It's about the people. So I'll finish with this. To quote a great Canadian band, if I had $1 million, we would run Canada's first prospective study of compassion and psychological safety intervention in medicine, looking at clinician and patient well-being. So, compassion may be our most powerful tool that we have to make our medical system sustainable again. That's why we should care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atkinson, and thank you for the gift of that talk. I think most of us will remember that, and that's a good way to start sharing on Giving Tuesday. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Webster to the stage. Dr. Duncan Webster is an associate professor, infectious disease at DMNB. Dr. Webster has clinical and research interests relating to chronic viral infections, including hepatitis C, as well as harm reduction, tuberculosis, zoonotic infections, and glycosylation. Dr. Webster.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, mic's working okay? Great, thank you. So thanks very much. It's an honor to be here today. And there's mention of the gift of Paul's talk, which works nicely into the talk I want to give today, because I want to talk about gifts and I want to talk about relationships and how that impacts research and how that in turn fuels us. I want to start by talking about the relationships that we have. As already mentioned, we are all treaty people and we live on treaty land. And so it's an honor to live, work, and play on the traditional unceded territory of the Wolastoqey. And I do spend a lot of my time professionally doing research. As mentioned, I do a lot of research in bloodborne pathogens like HIV, Hep B, Hep C, harm reduction, as well as zoonotic diseases, tick-borne illness. But what I want to focus on a bit today is some of the research that I do around mycobacteria and tuberculosis. And I guess I would say that it's amazing that it does actually take up as much time as it does for me, which is a good thing because I enjoy it. But I'm going to drop back first to kind of give kind of a weaving thread of a story and try to end up back towards the beginning again. So this is a picture of myself with Hudson Freeze. So for those of you who don't know Hud Freeze, you actually are impacted by him. I have no doubt each and every one of us will be familiar with some of the work that he's done. This is, I first met Hud Freeze in 2008 in 2011 at a conference in Leuven, Belgium. And this is a picture taken in 2018 at Hud's lab in just outside of San Diego. So he works at Sanford Burnham Prebys Scientific Discovery Institute. And Hud is a living legend, truly. And his work which led to the discovery of this particular molecule. it doesn't show up there, but this is a polymerase, which I'm going to talk about, and it impacts a lot of the work that we all do, including the work that I do with tuberculosis and beyond. So HUD's story actually goes back to 1966. So in 1966, Hud Fries was a graduate student at the University of Indiana, and he was tasked with going to Yellowstone National Park. He avoided bears and the traffic jams that they caused and spent a lot of time at the hot springs. So this is Mushroom Spring. And in this boiling pool of an environment, he was able to culture a bacteria. So you can see in the image there, when he was able to culture this bacteria and he looked under the microscope, he was the first human to ever see this bacteria that would change our lives. That bacteria is Thermus aquaticus. So it lives at these incredible temperatures, and a particular enzyme that it produces is a polymerase, a DNA polymerase, which is Taq polymerase. And so anybody who knows of PCR will be familiar with Taq polymerase. And so his discovery absolutely revolutionized science and medicine and our day-to-day lives. So how did it influence our day-to-day lives? Well, people will be familiar with this picture of this swab. You'll remember back in COVID, right? We all had the point-of-care tests that we could do at home, but sometimes we wanted that really precise PCR swab. PCR could not have happened without Hud Fries and the discovery that he made. PCR is a really amazing process, which I won't go into detail, but I'll just say this. Imagine if you had $1, and every day you doubled that. So $1 became $2, $2 became $4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16. And you do that for a month, for 30 days. At the end of that 30 days, you would have over $1 billion. It's crazy, but it's true. Do the math. And it's the same process with the Taq polymerase and PCR. We're able to take a single strand of DNA, replicate it, do that doubling 30 times, and you've got over 1 billion copies of that DNA strand.